You mentioned that the idea of the corporation comes out of the church. Is that because, was it something that came out of ecclesiastical law that split in medieval? I understand this a little bit before the book, but that I'm sure that gets us into some of the questions of things like IPOs, municipal bonds, corporate finance. Yeah, it is buried in this structure. Did that come out of? I didn't realize that it did it come out of the ecclesiastical court or ecclesiastical laws?
It is, it's a premise of the book. I think I mentioned it very briefly. I wish I had more space and honestly more words allowed to me in the book to get into all these things more deeply. But yeah, so the legal idea of the corporation as a body of individuals, or perhaps even one individual, who can be made by law into a separate but related entity that can act in law, right? Sue and be sued, or hold debts, hold property in the name of the corporation rather than the name of the individual or individuals that make up the corporation. That is a legal concept that's developed in the medieval period to grapple with kind of simultaneously and related two places, that were presenting legal governance quandaries. One was the nature of church authority, papal authority over bishoprics, abbots, over local church governance, and the nature of imperial authority in something like the Holy Roman Empire over local governance, particularly cities and urban spaces. And kind of quasi-related to that is its development of concepts in, say, the Italian city-states as well in the late medieval and early modern period, right? So my point is that, all this stuff you're talking about kind of comes in when you start to fuse in, and it's very much related to commercial life. I mean, the urban corporations of medieval Europe were primarily organized in many respects to self-govern, but who were the people there but for merchants self-organizing. So then corporate form then begins to inform things like guilds and guild structures and then eventually by the time you get, into the 16th and 17th centuries, it starts to be applied to mercantile companies, a variety of forms. And in my book, the one I'm looking at most particularly is the joint stock company, which is kind of a latecomer to using this corporate form. And that a joint stock company being, of course, a kind of company that, unlike a guild, where each individual or partnership of traders trades on their own accord, but under a set of common rules and regulations and privileges, a joint stock company is a single body that in which everybody, through some form of shareholding, and it was very varied at this point, right? It didn't look like it does today. Shares come in various forms, but through some form of shareholding, essentially participated in a common entity and gave over the governance to a common government, which we now think of as a board of directors or a CEO or something like that. So I don't know if that makes sense or seems clear, but I guess from my perspective, by fusing the joint stock company model with the corporation model, you're actually not just creating a commercial technology that can raise capital or raise great amounts of debt, be infinitely more liquid, be much more risk tolerant, all of these things we tend to talk about when we talk about kind of the birth of modern capitalism, but it's also a form of governance. It's an argument for how things should be, how you govern by giving over to a kind of common government rather than a bunch of individual traders trading on their own accord.